Hey everyone, it's Mr. Scott, and we're going to take a look at the Units 1 and 2 FRQ from the College Board website for English Language and Composition. So here's the prompt, and I color-coded it to correspond with the BAT the prompt advice. And for those who remember BAT the prompt, your AP prompts are typically broken down into background, advice, and task. So it gives you some background information that's often pretty relevant to the piece itself, advice, and then the task. And the task is what you'll be doing. I'll give you a moment. I'm not going to read the whole thing. If you want to go ahead and pause, you can pause this so you can read the prompt again. I know it's probably been a week or two since some of you wrote your response on this one. So just take a moment for that. Pause it if you need to, but I am moving on. All right, so the task is asking you to identify a claim the author is making. And so it's helpful to think of the claim of a piece as the main idea. Rarely is the major claim explicit. No one's going to come out and say, I am claiming X, Y, and Z. So you have to read the entirety of the document. There will be articles that they choose that may have what I would say false flags. Case in point would be this article where it gives you the background on Jeremy Lin, and then it talks a little bit about him, and some people begin writing on how the claim is about athleticism and athletes. And it's, the stories about the athletes and the athletics are something that is supporting the major claim, but it's not the entirety of the claim, and it's not the entirety of the piece. So you have to make sure that you're reading the entire thing, and then after you've read it, you should be able to settle into a main idea. What is this article about? What is the author asserting? What is their argument trying to, or what are they trying to support by using either the anecdotes or the examples that they are? So these are some possible claims that just off the top of my head I saw as I read. One, just like America, China is a country of diverse people and perspectives. The culturally driven expectations of one's parents does not have to define them. Each culture has its own ideas of success. A parent's desire for the child to succeed, although it may manifest in different ways, is universal. The cultural differences between America and China lie in their expectation for their children. And then finally, it's only in America that someone like Jeremy Lin, the author's brother, can have their athleticism celebrated. I have to say, these are simply ones that I've found off the top of my head. Are any of these necessarily the main one or a right one? No, you could pick from any of these six, or if there's another one that you identified yourself that the evidence and the commentary supports, then go with it. Here's a really good example from one of yours. And that is, in the article Asian Men Can Jump, author Chen made the claim that Asia is a nation full of talented individuals that can contribute to America and the world through means other than academics. He is claiming that though it is a goal of many Asian parents for their children to seek academic prowess, it is far better for the parents to support the dreams and aspirations of their children. If they do this, their kids could potentially reach outstanding goals. Yes, there are multiple claims here. This is a strong thesis, and yeah, again, this kind of fits with the ones that I showed earlier, but it's also standing on its own 2 feet in terms of originality. So I think the main point to get from this is that your claim has to encompass, if not the entire article, most of the article. If you're just talking about Jeremy Lin, think about how much of the article does Jeremy Lin take up? Maybe half at most. So keep that in mind, because if you just talk about Jeremy Lin, you're just throwing out 50% of the article itself. So potential traps. Here's what I saw. As I said a moment ago, going after one aspect of the piece, identifying only a claim about Jeremy Lin or just athleticism without connecting it to the main idea of the article. Jeremy Lin is used as an example. The stories about him, the references to him are used as examples to support the major claim. Second trap, identifying a lesser claim as the overall claim. Now the prompt, keep in mind, the prompt does ask for a claim. It doesn't say major claim or lesser claim. It just says find a claim. But strategically speaking, it's better to look at a major claim. It's better to look at a main idea because that's going to give you a whole lot more evidence to use and much more room for commentary. If I find that major claim, then I'm more likely to find, okay, these are the lesser claims, these are the examples that are supporting this major claim, and you would have enough for a full 5-paragraph essay, even though you're not necessarily on the rhetorical analysis, you may not face something similar to this. You'll be looking at rhetoric rather than claims. This is still great practice because before you can really dive into how someone is using rhetoric and how they're supporting their claims, you need to know what the claim is in the first place. All right, so the Unit 2 FRQ was an open prompt. If you were taking the regular AP exam, this would be the third and typically easiest of the essay tasks because it's asking you to challenge, defend, or qualify, essentially argue, for a position. Now, I've posted the prompt here. I've divided it up based on color, where you can see batting the prompt, the background, the advice, and the task. So if you want to pause to read this prompt, go ahead and do that. However, I am going to move forward. All right, so the basic approach to an open prompt to defend, to challenge, or to qualify means if you're defending it, you are claiming that the truism is true. So maybe the truism that you chose is the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You believe that is true, and so you're going to use evidence and commentary to support your claim. To challenge it is to claim that it is not true, and then support why. Or maybe instead of challenging that it's not true, you could challenge that it hasn't been properly understood. There's a few ways to do that. And then you can get into qualifying the claim. And to qualify it would be to say, well, it's true in some cases and it's not true in others. Or as I said a moment ago with the challenge, you could say, well, the words themselves are true, but the connotation may not be. Qualifying is that it's essentially you breaking it apart. You're acknowledging the complexity of it. You say, well, I can't say that it is always true or always false because this is a complex issue or a complex truism or whatever it may be. Qualifying, though, you're still making a claim and you're still forming an argument. Qualifying can't be essentially you saying that some truisms are true and some truisms aren't, because that's not a defensible claim. You're just making a statement at that point. So I have to understand qualification. If you're unsure on how to qualify something, it's best to defend or challenge. Qualify is you break it open and you're saying, well, yes, it's true in some cases, like case X, Y, and Z, and it's not true in other cases, such as cases A, B, and C. And then you offer evidence and pick it apart in that way. So in that way, you're still making a claim and you're still offering up some form of defense and argumentation. So traps that people fell into on the Unit 2 FRQ. The first one I noticed was stating that truisms, not a specific one, but truisms in general, are either true or not in others. So this was just making sure that you're reading the prompt fully and completely. This may be a case of reading the first few words, thinking, I got this, and moving on. You have to read the whole prompt. If it helps to do the prompt thing, the background, advice, and task, if it takes you doing that, physically doing that on an essay, then that may be what you need to do, just to ensure that you're reading the whole thing. All right. Next up, repeating the same piece of evidence with new commentary. I saw one where the two support paragraphs essentially used the same anecdote. It was a personal anecdote, which personal experience, personal observation counts as evidence, but it was the exact same story. It was the exact same moment. And so you can use two forms of anecdotal evidence, for example, but or two two pieces of the same type of evidence, in this case anecdotal. You can use two pieces of anecdotal evidence, but it can't be the same story both times, because then you're just repeating yourself. And it's almost like that second paragraph shouldn't exist if you're just saying the same thing again. So that was another trap I saw. And then also another one was, and I think this was a misunderstanding of the prompt. The prompt asks for you to pick a truism, just one. It's not asking for a commentary on truisms themselves. Just pick one truism. And some people pick more than one. And the one that I read was well written. It was a well written piece, but it didn't answer the prompt. And so if this was the regular AP exam, you wouldn't be able to score higher than a 4, because you misunderstood the prompt. It says pick a truism. So whenever you're writing for an AP exam, you have to make sure you're reading that prompt. Don't just, glance over it and say, oh, got this, and just start burning through. Although all of this to say that most people did well on both Unit 1 and Unit 2. I noticed people having more trouble with the second prompt than the first, but what I noticed was easily fixable. I think it was just a simple misunderstanding of the prompt, and you can fix that. There weren't any, from what I could tell from the majority of you, there weren't any glaring issues in terms of writing or how to address the prompt or things like that. There were just a few people that I could tell that they may have read it too quickly, which again, that's fixable. That's easy. Just slow down, make sure you understand the prompt, and that you fully understand what they're asking before you begin to write. All right, so I think that is it. Hope you guys are doing well, and take care out there.